Hi everyone, this is Mike, and I'm here to do another in my series of movies from A to Z, and now we are up to the letter Q. And I have to admit I don't have a lot of films starting with the letter Q, but I do have Quadrophenia from the year 1979. This is an English film which is put out on this very nice Criterion Collection 2-disc set with lots of extra features and a nice booklet. And it's a really cool movie. I remember seeing this when it first came out, and I went with a friend of mine who knew something about this, and I knew nothing about it at all. It's based on a rock and roll album put out by the band The Who in 1973, and I had never heard it. I still to this day have not heard it. So my friend was expecting it to be a musical, so that's kind of why we went, and that was our expectation, and we were disappointed because it wasn't a musical. There was a lot of music in it, sort of in the background, but it really was not. It was based on this album that was a rock opera by The Who. It was their second rock opera after Tommy, and I guess it was quite a big hit. And I've heard some of the music from it, but I don't know that much about it. Anyway, okay, so the film, which is produced by The Who as well, they wrote this story about a guy named Jimmy who has mental problems. In fact, the word quadrophenia is a takeoff from the word schizophrenia. The idea here is that they use the word quad to indicate that Jimmy didn't have just two personalities, he had four, okay? And supposedly at the time that they did the record, they were basing each one of Jimmy's personalities on a member of the band, the four band members of The Who. And I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway. So Jimmy is a guy in working class London in the mid-1960s. This takes place in 1964, and he's in a dead-end job. He takes drugs, amphetamines, and he's starting to lose control of his thinking. He identifies with this group of young people that call themselves the Mods, okay? And their identifying marks were that they dressed very well. They wore a lot of suits and ties and had good haircuts, very modern haircuts, and they rode these scooters that were absolutely beautiful, with all kinds of accoutrements and decorations, and they were the opposing group of another group of young people called the Rockers, who wore black leather jackets and tight jeans, and they had longer, greasier hair. In this country, in the United States, we always called these people the greasers, okay, or just juvenile delinquents. And but over there it was, and these guys in England, they rode these big-ass motorcycles, right? So, and they identified with the old style of rock and roll that came out in the 1950s. And so these two groups of young people, a lot of them just teenagers, they really came from the same place, but they hated each other, right? Because they all had different styles. So I guess there was a legendary riot down in Brighton, which is a beautiful resort in the south of England, and in 1964, where the Mods and the Rockers all went down for a holiday, and they got into this massive fight, which turned into a riot, and I don't know, just so that's the big climactic part of the film, where Jimmy and his friends all go down to Brighton, and they get involved in this riot, and the whole thing just changes Jimmy's life, because he's looking for something to identify with, something that will give his life some sort of a meaning. He's not getting it from his dead-end job. He's not getting it from his life with his parents, who obviously he doesn't get along with. They don't understand him. And he's not getting it in relationships. He's in love with this beautiful girl who is kind of stringing him along, and he thinks that she probably cares about him more than she really does. So they get involved in this riot, and while it's all going on, Jimmy is just not only high from drugs, but he's high from the whole experience. He's finally doing something that gives him feeling, it gives him purpose. And he's with this girl, and in the middle of the riot, when the police start coming, they start bashing everybody with clubs. He leads this girl into an alleyway just to where she could be safe, and they end up having sex just very quickly. And for Jimmy, it's another life-changing, life-altering experience. And so once they're finished, they go right back into the riot. Well, so he gets arrested and has to pay a fine, and then when he gets back, it seems like his whole life just turns to shit, right? he gets thrown out of his house by his mother because she finds drugs in his bedroom. He loses his job because he missed a day, and his boss is giving him all kinds of a hassle, and Jimmy just can't take it anymore, and he says, you know, shove it up your arse, and he walks out. So he also finds out that his girlfriend didn't care about him as much as he cared about her, and she has gone with his best friend now. So, and to top it all up, Jimmy wrecks his scooter, which is his prized possession. So he gets more drugs, and he gets loaded, and he takes the train back to Brighton. This is after the holiday is over, right? And he tries to relive, or just remember, all the things that happened there. And one of the things he tries to remember is that there was this very impressive mod that had a beautiful scooter and a beautiful sense of style. And Jimmy and his girlfriend nicknamed him the Ace Face, right? And he was played by Sting, the rocker from The Police, in a great performance, great supporting performance. Well, Jimmy, he sees this guy working as a bellboy, right, in one of the swanky hotels. And Jimmy had, this is like the final straw, because this was somebody he looked up to, somebody that he really wanted to emulate, because he had such a sense of style, and he seemed to be so much in control of what he was doing. And he really loses it. Steals the guy's scooter, which is right by the hotel where he's working, and he goes off to this area of England near the sea where they have these cliffs, and he actually looks like he's going to take the scooter and ride himself off the cliff and kill himself, but of course he doesn't. All he does is he just lets the motorcycle go, and then he walks away. So hopefully he's trying to clear his head and get a new life. And I'm just giving you all kinds of spoilers about this movie, and I probably said too much. It is such a cool film in so many ways. I like the performance by this actor. His name is Phil Daniels. He was just so good in this role. And I don't know any of the other actors at all. In fact, I've never seen Phil Daniels do anything else other than this film. As I said, Sting is terrific. And the best thing for me is that even though this is not American culture, they played a lot of American rock and roll music. And when all these kids went down to Brighton, they had this scene in a ballroom, which is really a discotheque. They were playing hit records of the time. And hearing all this great music just amplified like that, and seeing all these kids dancing in those 1964 styles, it just connected with me in such an incredible way. The first song they were playing in this scene is called Green Onions by Booker T and the MGs, and that went into Louie Louie by the Kingsmen. And then they went into the Wah Wah Tootsie by the Orlons, right? Three great classic rock and roll songs of the time. And for me, I don't really look upon this stuff in a nostalgic way so much. For me, it just resonates as if it's right now. I hear this stuff and it just connects with me, and I'm not thinking, wow, that was great back then. I'm thinking, it's great now. This sounds normal to me. This sounds the way things should sound when I turn on the radio, if that makes any sense at all. There's also a great scene at a party where Jimmy's with a bunch of his friends, some private house party, and they're playing records, 45 RPM records, and Jimmy takes off the slow record and he puts on a record by The Who called My Generation. And all the people, most of the people, especially the guys, the young guys, just go nuts, and they're all dancing and jumping up and down and shouting out the lyrics to the song, and it's just really cool. So I just sorry I told you so much about the movie, but I think you should see it anyway, just for the ambiance and the style and I read that they only filmed one scene in a studio, and everything else was filmed on location in London and in Brighton and on that cliff by the sea, and just so many good things in this movie. And so I don't know, I would like to highly recommend Quadrophenia from the year 1979, and that is my film from the letter Q. So be sure to watch everybody else, and comments as always are welcome. Okay, see you.